Hi everyone, my name is Fani Kashyap. Present, I am working as an assistant professor in freshman engineering in St. Martin's Engineering College. So now I am going to tell about law of demand and elasticity of demand. So firstly, we need to understand how the demand works. Before we are going to understand the concept of demand, so what is company, what is business, what is market, everything we need to understand as per the thing. So basically, before we understand the concept of demand, usually demand means it is nothing but like the desire, ability to purchase plus willingness to pay. So this is the concept. Just in other words, when have the demand for anything, like at a given price in the amount of which will be bought per unit of the time is the price. So that is the concept of demand. So in this way, the three combinations like desire to purchase, ability to pay plus willingness to pay. So whenever the product is having demand means that is nothing but these three combinations will have been represented. Otherwise, the product or the commodity, it doesn't have any kind of demand. So usually the demand consists in market. So market means it is nothing but the buyer and seller where they meet and exchange the products and services. So in terms of monetary, so that is called a market. So in the market, the demand will be replicated. So next, when it comes to the demand, usually there are some demand determinants. Demand determinants are nothing but like we need to focus on or understand the concept of how the demand is working. So first one is price of the commodity. Before understanding the commodity, we need to understand what is the difference between the product and as well as commodity. So commodities are examples are like sugar, wheat, pulses, grains, everything. But when it comes to the product, the whatever the with the help of commodity, we are going to manufacture or produce in the different kinds of way of the commodities. So that is called the commodity and the product differentiation. So here we are explaining about the price of the commodity, which it in sense of the demand determinants. First, we need to understand the price of the commodity. Price of the commodity means, for example, the product is having like 10 rupees, 20 rupees, depends on whatever you are taking the example of product. So if the product is having 10 rupees, the price means the price is replicating the demand of a particular product. So basically, the price represents everything about the market and as well as the demand of a particular product. So that is the thing here. And next, before the demand determinant price of the commodity, we need to understand what are the demand function. What is demand function? Like Q is equal to F of price and substitute products, income of the consumer, and next advertisements, taste and preferences, food habits, and like these are different kinds of things which influences the demand function. So that is the concept of the demand function. So we are explaining now demand determinants, that is nothing but price of the commodity. So I already told that price of the commodity means first whatever the commodity you are having or like the product you are having, so the how much the price is there, so that is called the price of the commodity. And next, income of the consumer. For example, TV is there, or like television, or like a radio, or like a automobile industry, or like vehicles, everything whatever depends on the price range is having. So if the income of the consumer is has been increases, then automatically it will switch to the luxury product. So that means the income of the consumer replicates the demand of a particular product or particular commodity. So that is one of the demand determinants. And next, third one is price of the related goods. So if you are consuming beverages, or if you are consuming like coffee or tea, so if the tea or the coffee price has been increased, then automatically you will switch to the substitute product. So in sense, like the price of the related goods means the other goods whatever the prices has been increased, automatically it will give an impact of the demand of a particular commodity or product. And next, fourth one is taste and habits of the consumer. So usually I want to consume I want to consume some other product, Maggie. So what is my habit? What is my taste? So I want to eat spicy food. So usually my demand goes to particular products which are having spiciness. So usually that kind of thing is there. So that means like whatever the taste and habits of the consumer replicates, the products is having the demand or not. And next one is wealth. Wealth is nothing but whatever we are generating the income or the revenue towards to the business. So that is called wealth. And next to population. So when the population increases, depends on the geographically, depends on the demographically, everything which we can ascertain, like the population as per the demand oriented. That means products are continuously increasing, commodities are continuously increasing, obviously because of the population. So that is the thing. And next, government policies. For example, we need to, like, government is banning the plastic. So what happened to the plastic products? The plastic products has to be decreasing, has been decreasing. So since the demand of the plastic is also going to be decreased, in the similar way we need to understand these are the demand determinants. Okay na? So these are called demand determinants. So next, before going to the law of demand, first you need to understand what are the demand assumptions. I already mentioned that. What is demand? Demand is nothing but the combination of three elements. One is ability to pay plus desire plus willingness to purchase. That means if you want to purchase a Rolls Royce, then what happened? You don't have an ability. That means the product is lacking the demand. So that means you need to understand the demand means the fulfillment of three elements like desire, ability to purchase plus willingness to pay. So first you need to understand what are the assumptions for the demand. So what are the assumptions? Like what I already mentioned, that demand function Q is equal to function of price, income of the consumer, next expectations, consumer taste and preferences, habits, price of the substitute products. These all are the some determinants and functional elements which are has to be in constant way only. Then only the assumption will be fulfilled. So some assumptions like the price of the other products should be remains constant. So that is one kind of thing. And next kind of thing is the whatever the other products, like if I already mentioned the example, if you are consuming the tea, the alternative, the substitute product of the tea is coffee. The coffee price should not vary, should not change. So that is a concept of the assumptions for the demand. Now we are going to understand and explain about the law of demand. Usually law of demand means it is nothing but when the price increases, demand decreases. At the same time, vice versa. Price decreases, demand increases. For example, if you are purchasing a basket of apples, like one basket, 12 apples is equal to 100 rupees. So 12 apples, when you will get 50 rupees, then you are going to purchase one more basket. So that means whenever the prices decreases, the demand of a particular commodity, particular quantity of a commodity, it will be increased. And at the same time, the basket is 200, it is going to be increased again 100 rupees. So what happened? You are not going to purchase again one more 100. That means the demand of a particular commodity is going to be decreased. So that is called law of demand. Law of demand is nothing but, in simple terms, price increases, demand, quantity of the demand decreases, and price decreases, quantity of the demand increases. So that is called law of demand. So usually if you see the description of the law of demand shows the relationship between price and quantity demand of a commodity in the market. In other words of Marshall, the amount demand increases with a fall in price and diminishes with a price in rise. So you need to understand. So that is the interlinked, and that is the connection between the price and the quantity demand. Okay na? Next, here in this law of demand, if you understand, there are some exemptions. I mean, like everything has a negative effect. So in the similar way, in the law of demand also, it is having some certain exemptions. Exemptions are nothing but, usually what is the law of demand? Price increases, demand decreases. Price decreases, demand decreases. This is the constraint. But when it comes to the exception, price increases, demand also increases. Price decreases, demand also decreases. So that is the concept for exemptions of the law of demand. So usually here, given goods or given paradox. Usually in olden days, what happened? Given goods or given paradox, nothing but like meat and like bread, those two only commodities are there. So meat in sense, So having meat is a costly one, and having bread is less costly comparing to meat. But at the time of consuming, at the time of that period, what happened? Meat increases. Usually, everyone has to switch to the bread because of the increase in meat. But literally, what happened? The bread price also has been increased. So the everyone who wants to consume the meat or the bread, they are literally consuming the bread, because whatever happened, that means that is the price increases, demand increases. That is the concept of the given goods. And next one, goods of status or Veblen goods. You can say whatever those two, goods of status or Veblen goods. Goods of status means it is nothing but usually what happened. So if you are purchasing one type of commodity, one type of good, so that means then automatically the whatever the luxury goods, it is having high consumable thing, high prices. So whoever purchasing luxury goods, the demand is having increased at that certain state. So that is called goods of states. Ignorance. If you are, that means if I am the middle person, like a middle family person, so I don't want to go for luxury item. So what happened there? Then obviously I'm ignoring that kind of commodities or that kind of products. So that is called ignorance. And next, consumer expectations of future prices. Usually tomorrow the onions prices will be increased, or tomorrow the tomato prices will be increased. On depends on the future expectations, future forecasting. So obviously I am going to purchase priorly. So that is the way of the price and demand increases or price and demand decreases. We need to understand both ways, not only single way, price and demand of the quantity. Okay. Next one is fear of shortage. Fear of shortage. Obviously, if the onions are decreasing, so what happened? We are going to ultimately we are going to purchase more and more because of the shortage will come. So definitely we need to understand. So that is a concept. And next one is necessaries. Necessaries are nothing but like whatever the rice, vegetables, fruits, these kind of necessaries are going to purchase. When the prices increases, obviously the demand also will be increased. When the price decreases, the demand will be decreases in certain cases only. So these are the some exemptions in the law of demand. Okay. Next, so this is called law of demand. Next, elasticity of demand. Obviously elasticity means it is nothing but we are measuring the change, how much happened towards to the price as well as the quantity demand. That is called elasticity. That means the population has been changed, the fans are purchasing, the machinery is purchasing, depends on how many products or how many commodities are purchasing. So like we need to measure how much change happened towards to the price as well as the quantity demand. So that is called the elasticity of demand. So elasticity is nothing but we need to measure the change, how much happened towards to the price as well as the quantity demand. Okay, this is called the elasticity of demand. In this elasticity of demand, majorly two categories are there. One is elastic demand and second one is inelastic demand. Elastic demand in sense, usually I mentioned that two things are there. One is price and second one is quantity demand. So when if you purchasing more and more as per the related to the price, the quantity is been increased. That is the law of demand. So elastic means a small change in price, or sometimes there is no change in price, but the quantity of the demand is going to be changed in a big change or in a huge change. So that is the concept of the elastic demand. And now when it comes to the inelastic demand, there might be a small change in demand, sometimes no change in demand, followed by the price changes increases. So that is called inelastic demand. So next, in this elasticity of demand, these are the two categories, two kinds. But when it comes to the types, there are four types are there. One is price elasticity demand, next income elasticity demand, third one cross elasticity of demand, fourth one advertisement elasticity of demand. So here these are the four types of elasticity of demand. Now before going to this type of elasticity of demand, again I am saying one more time law of demand and as well as the elasticity of demand. But when it comes to certain situations, like law of demand means it is nothing but price increases, demand decreases. Demand increases, price decreases. Okay, so you need to understand that these are the different categories, price and the demand fluctuations. Okay, na? So just let me show you the graphical way which is represents that. Okay, na? So usually what happen, price increases, demand decreases. This is the concept of law of demand. Okay, so law of demand means price increases, demand decreases. So in the similar way, there is one more alternative like price decreases, demand increases. This is the alternative method. Like the alternative method means there are two options which we can say that. For example, like price of the apple, price and quantity. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the price variations, and obviously the quantity is 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. So these are the options. Obviously, in this way, the price and the quantity demand has been changed. Okay, na? So in the graphical way also you can understand this is the like the price increases, demand decreases, and as well as the price decreases, demand increases. So this is the concept of law of demand. Now we are explaining about the elasticity of demand, which is we are measuring the change, how much change happened towards to the price and as well as the demand. So here I explained that elastic means price, there is no change in price or small change in price. But when it comes to the demand, huge change, huge change will be there. So that is called elasticity of demand. Okay, na? Elasticity of demand, and in the elasticity of demand, elastic. And when it comes to the inelastic, we are just in the follow of the prices is changing more, a huge change in prices. But when it comes to the demand, there is no change in demand, or obviously there is a small change in demand. So that is the concept of the elasticity. Elasticity is nothing but we are understanding, we are measuring how much changes happen towards to the price and as well as the demand. So here formula is there, one formula is there. ED is equal to elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in, that means you can say that percentage change in, just a minute, percent delta Q by delta P by P. That is nothing but Q minus Q1 by Q by P minus P1 by P. So that means here changes in quantity of the demand by original quantity, and as well as changes in price of the commodity by original price of the commodity. So that means we are telling about the elasticity of demand relates to the price. So that is the concept of the elasticity of demand relates to the price. Now how many types are there in elasticity of demand? There are 4 types of there. One is price, second one is income, third one is cross, fourth one is advertisement. Fourth one is advertisement. So price, income, cross, advertisement. So I already mentioned that formula for the price elasticity of demand, EP is equal to, you can say that EP. ED means directly or directly elasticity of demand. EP is equal to proportionate change in quantity demand of a commodity by proportionate change in price of the commodity. That is a formula for the elasticity of the price. And next, when it comes to the income, proportionate change in quantity demand of a commodity by proportionate change in income of the consumer. Third one is cross elasticity of demand, which it gives the alternative products, substitute products. That means proportionate change in quantity demand of a product X by proportionate change in price of the product Y. You understand that, right? So quantity demanded of a particular product X and particular price of the another product price of the Y. So that is called cross elasticity of demand. And next last one is advertisement. So how many sales has happened towards to the how much expenditure was completed. That means proportionate change in advertisement, proportionate change in advertisement by proportionate change in advertisement expenditure, quantity by advertisement expenditure. So this is called, these are the different types of elasticity of demand. But now we are going to dive into the some price elasticity of demand, some types. In the price elasticity of demand, there are some types. Okay, na? So just let me tell you, in price elasticity of demand. So what is price elasticity of demand? It is nothing but proportionate change in quantity demand of a commodity by proportionate change in price of the commodity. Okay, na? So you can so proportionate change in quantity demand of a commodity by proportionate change in price of the commodity, that is called price elasticity of demand. In this price elasticity of demand, there are again 5 categories. Okay, na? First one is as per the elastic and as per the inelastic. Elastic, perfectly elastic, in next relatively elastic, second one relatively, and next third one perfectly inelastic, fourth one relatively inelastic, and last one is unitary elasticity demand. This one is elastic and this one is relatively elastic. Just for the sake of understanding the concept, we are just understanding. Okay, na? And inelastic, and this one also inelastic, and this is normal unitary elasticity of demand. Okay, na? So perfectly elastic, relatively elastic, perfectly inelastic, and relatively inelastic, and last one is unitary elasticity of demand. So perfectly elastic, what happened here? Again, I am reminding you that price elasticity of demand is nothing but proportionate change in quantity demand of a commodity by proportionate change in price of the commodity. So here what happened? Perfectly elastic means there is a no change or slight change towards to the price, and there might be a change, huge change in demand. So that is called elastic. But when it comes to the perfectly elastic, price and quantity demand, just for the sake of understanding, I am writing this one. There is no change, but the quantity demand of the commodities is having huge change. Okay, na? So in perfectly elastic, there is no change in price, but when it comes to the quantity demand, it is having a huge change. Obviously, some prices of the product or commodity, sometimes there is no change, but when it comes to the quantity, it is having more and more. So that is the concept. But when it comes to the relatively elastic, a small change in price, but huge change in demand, obviously that is called relatively elastic of demand. Relatively elastic, that means small change in price, like normal changes will happen, but the demand is going to be changed hugely. And next, when it comes to the perfectly inelastic, the prices is having too much high, it is having too big, too huge, and followed by the whatever the quantity demand is not having any change. So that is the concept of the perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic in sense, the prices are very huge, the prices is very high, but when it comes to the quantity demand, it is not having any demand. So that is called the perfectly inelastic. And next one is relatively inelastic. Relatively inelastic is nothing but the prices are high, the prices of a commodity or product is very high, but whereas the quantity demand is very low followed by it. Okay, na? That means the quantity is very low when the prices is in huge change also. Okay, na? So that is the criteria which we need to understand the price elasticity of demand. So what we are discussing till now, So we need to understand the law of demand, elasticity of demand, and what is demand. And in elasticity of demand, we are explaining about the concepts of the categories and as well as the types. Okay. So what is elasticity? Elasticity is nothing but we are measuring the change towards to the price and as well as the quantity demand. Okay. So that is called, these are the different types of the perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, really perfectly inelastic, relatively elastic. These are the unitary. And next last one is unitary. So unitary is nothing but like normal, a gradual change in quantity, a gradual change in like everything. So that is the concept here. Just let me show you the video which we are having, so for that you can understand in the video sense. Okay. And next this is the concept of the demand and as well as the elasticity of demand and law of, and like the different kinds of elasticity of demand. So usually in the market, this is showing that in the market, so how much it is changing like towards to the everything like depends on the prices and at the same time demand. We will discuss in later like the income elasticity of demand, or like advertisement, like cross elasticity of demand. So these are the different categories are there. You need to understand how the demand works in a market. So usually everyone, the business is following the strategies to prioritize how their product is going to drive into the market, then only they will get the profits. That is the motive for any kind of business. So simple thing is business wants to make a profits. For making the profits, they want to understand how the behavior or how the habits of the consumer. For that reason, they are just replicating this kind of pricing and this kind of demand inelastic, elastic, this kind of strategies. Okay. So see, this is one kind of example like demand, just whatever the con example has been taken as per the video in sense, like when the price is decreasing, the demand is going to be increased. Obviously, if you are purchasing more, that means the demand is having less or more depends on the price itself. Okay. So that is a major concept which we are understanding. These all are the concepts. This is the graphical presentation also there. So this is the graphical presentation as per the prices and as per the demand. So demand is has been increases, and the price, when the price decreases, demand is going to be increased. So in the similar way, the price increases,
This
demand
curve is what we
demand
call a
will be
demand curve.
increased. So that is called the inverse, whatever the demand curve is there. So finally, this is a video. Just we need to understand more and more. So ultimately, these are the concepts: law of demand, elasticity of demand, and the different types of elasticity of demand. So law of demand is nothing but price increases, demand decreases. Price decreases, demand increases. Okay, na? So and elasticity means we need to measure the change. Okay, right. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.